Hey everyone, I'm Joe. Today it's time for me to do my Dublin 2019 WorldCon book haul. Now, the WorldCon is an annual science fiction book convention. It is held in different cities, in different countries around the world each year. It is one of the longest running science fiction awards going, the award in question being the Hugo Award, which is a very well known and very famous one, especially in the Western world. And I am not going to talk about what I did at the WorldCon, obviously, because this is a book haul. The previous video to this one, I talk about the experience of being there. This is just about the books that I brought. Now, I was with a bunch of booktubers, quite a big bunch of booktubers, and you might expect my books to be wild and quite varied, but actually, that was surprisingly not the case. Because this was Dublin, Ireland, a lot of the publishers that were, for instance, in the vendors hall were quite familiar to me because the ones that I can access in the UK, and indeed the ones in the bookshops were very familiar because these are very similar to UK bookshops. So this is going to be a fairly standard in terms of publishers and such book haul that you might see on my channel before, but some of the books are still very interesting, however, and I'll get straight on to talking about them. The first two I bought in the vendors hall. Actually, I bought 6 books in total in the vendors hall, and these 2 books are books 2 and 3 in the Bastet Legion series by Gavin Smith. Now, these are Friendly Fire and War Criminals. The first book, which is actually called the Bastet Legion, I read 2 years previously, and it was a really good, fast-paced, quite violent in places, military science fiction. It is essentially a prison transport spaceship that gets hijacked and taken over by a woman called Miska. All the prisoners on the ship have essentially explosive implants in their neck somewhere, and essentially if they disobey her, the explosives go off, and obviously they'll instantly die because, you know, they haven't got a head, so it's a bit of a problem. And so she's got basically her own very large spaceship and her own large convict mercenary army, essentially. The first book was really, really fun. These 2 books, which I know nothing about the plot of, other than obviously the overall theme of them, will follow on from further adventures. Obviously, she's got access to this large convict army, so she'll be doing some work that is definitely illegal, some work that she is hoping maybe that might be legal but probably won't turn out that way. There'll be betrayals, there'll be big action scenes, and there'll be personal character development with the main character Miska. So these are 2 books that I am quite eager to get to. I will have to reread the first book though because it's been quite a while now, so I'm quite happy to do that. The third book I'm going to talk about is the Medusa Chronicles, written by Stephen Baxter and Alastair Reynolds. Now, this is I suppose, a sort of spiritual sequel, I suppose you could call it, to Arthur C. Clarke's novella, award-winning novella to be precise, called A Meeting with Medusa. That one is the one that I haven't actually read yet, although now that I have this, I feel as though I probably should read that first, then read this one. This sounds really, really interesting, and I'll read the synopsis. The 2080s. Dirigible pilot Commander Howard Falcon is left crippled by a crash. Experimental cyborg surgery leaves him with superhuman capabilities but isolated from mankind. The 2090s. Falcon pilots a solo mission into the clouds of Jupiter, where no natural human could travel. Obviously. The 2130s, so 40 years on from that. Adam, a prototype autonomous Dutch Turing algorithmic heuristic machine, I won't want to say that too many times in a row, mining ice in the outer reaches of the solar system and faced by the destruction of its fellows, feels the stirring of emotion. As centuries unfold, Howard Falcon, neither human nor machine, uniquely lonely, must bridge the orders of creation and find a way to avert a catastrophic interplanetary war. Now this follows on from obviously Arthur C. Clarke. Arthur C. Clarke was known for a particular writing style, which I love. So this should work out very well indeed. Obviously I have to read that novella from him first, then this, I'm very excited to read this. I knew about this a few years ago, and indeed I met both authors in question, but that was during the hardback release of this book. I don't like hardbacks particularly, so I've been waiting for this in hardback for a number of years. The next book is Something Coming Through by Paul McAuley. I bought this book solely because of the author, Paul McAuley. I know nothing about the book as such. Obviously I know it's science fiction, and that's quite literally it. So I will read the back because it will be as new to me as it might be to you. So, the alien Jackaroo, okay, that's a strange name, have given humanity 15 worlds, covered in ruins left by the Jackaroo's previous clients. The human race has finally reached the stars. Oh, that set up a kind of benevolent super race helping humanity. Okay. In London, Chloe Miller, mapping imported scraps of alien tech, stumbles across a pair of orphan kids possessed by an ancient alien ghost. Okay. On one of the gift worlds, the murder of a man just arrived from Earth leads policeman Vic Gale to a remote excavation site which hides a disturbing secret. Obviously it's going to be a disturbing secret. Something is coming through. Something that will challenge the limits of the Jackaroo's benevolence. Yeah, so this is a so-called good race helping out a younger race, kind of like an uplift type experience. And obviously things are not what they seem. There is a sequel to this as well. Thankfully I wasn't actually sure which book was which, and I did actually get lucky. I actually bought the first one in this duology rather than the second, so I'm able to actually read it straight away, which I'm quite pleased with. This sounds quite an interesting one, and McAuley has worked out well for me before, so I'm very happy to have this indeed. The next book is Downward to the Earth by Robert Silverberg, and yes, this is one of the Yellow Spine SF masterworks, and frankly I bought it because it's a masterwork, but also not just because of that. I wouldn't just buy a book only because of masterwork, that would be silly. I have never read anything by Robert Silverberg before, despite the fact he's one of these sort of classic golden age science fiction authors. He is indeed still alive, and he's a very controversial figure. Some of his views are debatable at times, let's say, kind of like a Heinlein type figure where his views aren't always a bit older fashioned. I don't agree with some of his personal views, which I'm not going to talk about here, but his books are meant to be good, especially some of them anyway, and this one is one I've heard about, and this is meant to be quite interesting. It is, on the back, one man must make a journey across the once colonised alien planet, abandoned by man when it was discovered that the species there was actually sentient. The planet is now a place of mystery. It is a mystery that obsesses the lone traveller Gunderson and takes him on a long trek to attempt to share the religious rebirthing of the aliens, a journey that offers redemption from guilt and sin. So sort of redemption, one man on his sort of journey to find something that he needs. For some reason it has some sort of elephants on the cover, so elephants have been transported to an alien world. Curious. I don't understand it, but we'll see. I mean, you say, although admittedly downward to the Earth. So is this Earth? Or is this meant to be a kind of a substitute Earth? Curious. I'm actually quite curious now, more than I was, now that I've actually had that idea. The next book is The Sands of Mars by Arthur C. Clarke. I mentioned Clarke earlier. Obviously, Medusa was inspired by it, and now I actually got a book by Clarke. Now, I love Arthur C. Clarke, as I've already said. This book is a very well known one from him. I've never read it, obviously, and I also couldn't help noticing it because this is by Gollancz. It is not a science fiction master's work, however. It is the newer line that they've created only this year, 2019, called the Golden Age Masterworks. Don't worry, I know that I have an obsession with buying SF Masterworks. I don't think I'm going to be the same with the Golden Age, because frankly a lot of the Golden Age stuff, some of the morals and the authors in question are not ones I'm not bothered about. So this just happened to be Clarke, though. I do want to read more by him. The back of the book says, it is the 21st century. On Mars, a dedicated group of pioneers, among them some of Earth's finest minds, obviously, struggle to change the face of the planet. Science fiction writer Martin Gibson finally gets the chance to visit the research colony on the Red Planet. It's a dream come true, until he discovers the difficulties and perils of survival on another world. and the very real terror it holds. And it has an introduction, which I find interesting, by Stephen Baxter, obviously who co-wrote Medusa. So yeah, it's got a link to that. This should be an interesting one. And the cover I think is really nice. I've heard very little about the book other than it's considered a classic and is well thought of, and indeed this may have won awards. I am not sure. If it has, I'll put up a note. But this is a well-known one from Clarke, and for some reason I haven't read it, but I will soon. The final 3 books that I bought in Chapters Bookshop, which is a very well-known bookshop in Dublin, and I would love to go to Chapters again. I was really impressed by Chapters. It was a lovely bookshop, and it had a lot of offers on books. Indeed, the 3 books that I bought, I'll talk about the first 2 in a second, were all at a reduced price for only €5. So these were much cheaper than normal, hence why I bought them. And the first 2 are by Ursula Le Guin. These are volume 1 and 2 in the Unreal and the Real. Volume 1 is Where on Earth, and volume 2 is Outer Space, Inner Lands. Now, these are essentially short story collections, smallish ones. These stories were handpicked by Ursula Le Guin herself and curated by her. They contain a wide variety of her writing style and her ideas, both science fiction and her more fantasy based stories. I've been wanting to read these, and indeed short fiction by Le Guin, for years now. I really have, for at least 5 years. And finally I have these 2 books. I can read short stories by Ursula Le Guin. She's an iconic author within science fiction. I've been wanting to read more by her for as long as I can remember, but in more recent years I've actually been managing it. And now I have these 2 short stories. This should be a very interesting experience and one I'm very much looking forward to. The final book that I bought in Dublin, Ireland at the WorldCon was The Forgotten Beasts of Eld by Patricia A. Mckillip. Now, I've read quite a few books by Mckillip before and I've really enjoyed them. This is one of the ones published by Guin in the Fantasy Masterwork series, and this is a book that is very much sounding very similar to her previous novels, which I have greatly enjoyed. It is a sort of, it sounds similar to a sort of fantasy fairy tale retelling of sorts. I'll read the back of it. Sybil, the beautiful great-granddaughter of the wizard Heald, has grown up on Eld Mountain with only the fantastic beasts summoned there by wizardry as companions. It helps behind the title. She cares nothing for humans until, when she's 16, a baby is brought for her to raise, a baby who awakens emotions that she has never known before. But the baby is Tamlorn, the only son of King Dreed, and, inevitably, Sybil becomes entangled in the human world of love, war and revenge, and only her beast can save her from the ultimate destruction. I've read a few things by Mckillip, as I've said. I've greatly enjoyed them. They are quite different from what I usually read. I don't usually read too many things related to fairy tales and sort of like that sort of mythology. But I've greatly enjoyed everything I've read so far. I bought this, by the way, in case you're wondering, because I happened to be in Chapters Bookshop with Kelsey from the Fancy Hat Lady Reads, and Mckillip, he's one of her favourite authors. So when I saw this, I was like, Kelsey, I'm going to be buying this. You know, it should make you happy. And it's quite funny. Anyway, with that said, that is actually it for all the books I bought. Overall, I think this was a very interesting and varied selection of books. Now, there is a theme to them, as you may have noticed, by the fact that all 9 of these books are all by Guin, which is a UK publisher. And if you know by now, I've kind of got a reputation for having an awful lot of books by Guin. These are adding to it, so I've now got even more books than ever before by Guin. I didn't plan to just buy all Guin's books at the WorldCon. It just happened that that's what was available. I mean, it also helps when there was some really good offers on all these books though, so I can't pass them up, frankly. So they may not be unusual books by my standards, but they're a good price. Who can complain with a good price bunch of interesting books? I'm not going to complain. Anyway, if you have read any of these, or you would like to, and you want to talk about them, then please leave a comment. Obviously I can go into more detail on them. if I'm able to. Of course, I haven't read any of them yet. If you have any suggestions on books you think I might like based on any of these, or need on other videos to talk about, on other books I talk about in other videos, then again, please leave a comment, because I'm always interested in getting into new books and novels. I mean, that said, that is it for this video. Oh, and there will be a third video talking about the WorldCon in the next week, and that will be talking about the panels and the events I actually did there and going into depth about them. And I will link the previous video talking about the WorldCon experience in the description box below, which you will also find all my social media links. So with that said, that is it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.